Hello, welcome to this presentation. Today I'm going to talk about tenses. We are going to revise tenses because I'm sure, well, everybody knows about tenses and the way you use them, right? But I think it's very important to remember the difference between the verbal tenses, because if you want to transmit some information and if you don't use the right tense, you can create confusion, right? Okay, let's go to begin. When you're talking about present time, I mean when things that happen or in general or just at the moment, we have to differentiate between the present simple tense and the present continuous tense. Well, the present simple tense is used to talk about things in general repeated facts. That means when something happens every day, or something that is permanent, or when you give instructions, when you are writing a summary, etc. In this context, present simple is right. Okay. Well, there are some tenses that are always used in present simple. Which tenses? As you can see in the transparency in the board, when we are using a verb which refers to mental states, likes and dislikes, possession, appearance, being, perception, for example, I like this umbrella, right? It's present simple. We can say, I'm liking it, because that means that it's just at the moment, and it's no in general. That says that at the moment I like it, but tomorrow, no. Then it's not right to transmit this impression on the listener, and that's why we have to use present simple. This also happens with love, hate, want, need, prefer, know, because no, when you know if you know something, you know something. If you don't know something, really, you can say, I know this word, and really you don't know tomorrow. So we have to be conscious of the time we are, or the tense we are referring to. The same with suppose, mean, understand, believe, remember, belong. You belong to an association, you always belong to an association, you remember something, contain, consist, etc. Well, you have the verbs here, have, think, see, and be, because they have different meanings, depending if we use them in present simple or in present continuous. For example, I have, with the meaning of have got, possess something, it's always in present, right? I have an umbrella, or I have got an umbrella, always present simple, because it's an habitual action. But if you are referring to I have lunch, I have breakfast, you can say I'm having breakfast, I'm going to have a shower, I'm having a shower, right? But when the meaning is have, possession, it's only used as present simple. Think is the same. Think is when you want to transmit that you believe. You say, I think this is right. This is present simple, because you want to express that you consider this is the right situation. But we can also say, wait a moment, I'm thinking, because I'm thinking, using my brain. See is when, similar to the ones that I explained before. When I see something, I see you, right? I see the computer. This is present simple. But when we say, I'm seeing the boss tomorrow, that means I have a meeting. I have a meeting. That means I'm not talking about the ability to see people through my eyes. Okay? Then this is the difference. And be, when you say, I am a teacher, right? It's always the same, present simple. But when I want to express, you are being very negative lately, right? That means that I want to emphasize that it's something that is not permanent, that is something that is happening today, but it's not in general. Well, the form of the present simple, if you remember, is the verb, and we have to add s or es in the third person singular. Interrogative negative is formed with the auxiliary do or does when it's the third person singular. For example, he goes to the cinema. He doesn't go to the cinema. Does he go to the cinema? Remember the form. And the adverbs associated to the present simple are frequency adverbs. Well, another verb is the present continuous. The present continuous is used when we are referring to something that is happened at the time we are talking about, we are speaking. For example, say, I am listening to you. The form is to be plus the verb in ing form. Then it's I am listening, I'm talking to you now. I'm referring about this moment, right? And as you can see here, this is one exception that we use. You are always plus the verb and ing when you do something more often than the speaker thinks is normal. For example, you are always losing your keys, right? You are always losing your keys. That means that that's irritating me. This is not normal that it happens, okay? And remember that the present simple is for habitual actions and present continuous is for something that is happening now. And don't translate, okay? Don't translate because in Spanish it's used in a different way, right? So don't translate, please. Okay, let's go to talk about the past. When we refer to the past, the most simple way is the past simple, right? When do we use past simple? When the action is finished. Yeah, when we are describing a past happening. The form is with, we have to distinguish between irregular verbs and regular verbs. Irregular verbs, you have a list and then you have to memorize all the list. For example, break, broke, broken, get, got, have, had, etc. And the regular verbs, we just add ed to the verb. For example, work, worked. Remember the pronunciation. We don't say work it, worked, right? We just say studied when the finishing of the verb is t or d, right? And as you can see here, the adverbial associated to the past simple they are those here, right? Another tense associated with the past is present perfect. Pay attention to this tense, okay? Because this tense can be translated into Spanish. It's used in another way. In English, it's used when the action is still on, it comes from the past and is still on, or the action just finished. For example, I have lived in Valencia for 10 years. I have lived. I'm still living in Valencia. Right? If I use present perfect, that means that I am still doing the action. Or for example, let's say, I have just come from the department. Right? The action just finished. So we have to pay attention to this different use than present perfect in Spanish, right? The form is have, has, plus past participle. As I said, I have just arrived, or I have learned Italian for 2 years, etc. Then the adverbs associated are those, right, with this tense. Another tense is the past continuous. The past continuous is used in the past, and we refer to a long action in the past. It's also contrasted with past simple when past continuous is interrupted by another action, and then we use past simple, past continuous. That, for example, I was listening to music when you arrived. Past continuous action, I was listening. The action which interrupts, arrived. You arrived. Okay? The form, as I just told you in the example, is was, were plus the verb in ing form. I was listening, I was speaking, you were arriving, or you were playing tennis, etc. And the adverbials, as you suppose, is for a long time, because we are talking about a long period of time in the past, etc. And talking about the past, this is the last tense, the past perfect. The past perfect is very, simple to use. Is the tense used before another happening in the past. about something that happened in the past. When we have two past actions, then we have, for example, I had finished my classes when I came to the party, right? Okay, so the previous action in the past perfect and the more recent action in the past in past simple. And the form, as you have seen, is had plus past participle. This is not a very difficult one. You just have to remember that this is when you have two actions in the past and one is previous to another one. Okay? And finally, the future. The future, we have to distinguish all these three ways of expressing future. Will is used to do something that we just didn't plan before in the future, to offer something, prediction, unplanned action, something we don't know. For example, I will go to Canada. When? I don't know, right? Then the form is will plus infinitive. In the negative form, we can use won't. Will not, it's equivalent to won't. Then that is the form. Then unplanned action. And going to is the contrary. Going to and the present continuous form, it's used when we have a planned action. We want to do something that is planned. I'm going to present comparison next week, right? This is a plan. I know that it's going to happen because I have everything arranged, etc. I'm going to Paris next month. I've got the ticket, I've got my hotel, etc. Then that's when we use going to. And the last one is present continuous. In present continuous is a very similar use to going to, when it's a planned action, but very immediate. For example, I say, I'm traveling to Valencia tomorrow. Right? That means this afternoon, this evening, etc. And well, you have to remember all these tenses. I think they are very interesting and really very important to transmit what you want to say in technical English, and you have to remember the differences between all these ways of expressing present, past, and future. Thank you for your attention, and see you in my next presentation.